there's many more of us who worked on the film. I think what we'll do is Julia Rosenberg here, who produced the film, she has a few words she's going to say while she's doing that. If you worked on the film, if your name is in the credits, if you could come up and join us on the stage, that'd be great.
So I want to thank you all for... Come on up, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Sorry, I'm reading notes off my phone. On behalf of my producing partners, Tyler Levine, Brian Robertson, and I, we can't wait to personally thank our financiers and partners. I know how boring this can be for all of you, but you have to know that without the support of all these people, the film you just saw would never have happened. So, from Search Engine Films, we want to thank John Bain and Amanda Govin. From Telefilm Canada, Dan Lyon and Stephanie Azam. From the OMDC, Kelly Payne, Christine Murphy, and Aaron Creasy. From Tattersall Sound and Picture, Peter Gibson and Jane Tattersall. From Sim Digital, Rob Sim, Alex Sandall, and Craig Milne. And Michael Meredith from RBC, who just was a miracle worker. From Alter Ego, Greg, Edgar, and Carolyn Ateo, who are the sponsors of our after party. Caitlin Curcio, the associate producer, and she's an incredible emerging producer, and she was unbelievable on this film. Scott McClellan, who was one of our DPs, Kevin Heggie, who was our first AD, and all of those people invested part of their fees back into the film so we could make the film. Our incredible Colombian co-producers, Burning Blue, Diana Bustamante, Jorge Forero, and Paula Perez. And a few other people invested part of their fees, Pavan, Brian, Tyler, and me. So I just want to give out a shout out to Brian's parents and to Tyler's partner, Melissa, who let him leave her and their just born son for our shoot in Colombia. And one last super important thing, there was one individual whom the producers wished to single out. He was the first one to support us, and from that moment, his support has been unwavering. So Dan Lyon from Telefilm Canada, please stand so we can all applaud you.
Pavan, I think I'll start it off. You mentioned off the top that Sundowners, the conception was based on a story you heard, and I'm wondering if it's safe to elaborate on that story.
Yes. So I'm deliberately vague on what parts of the film have actually happened and did not, because I think it ruins the movie if you know what happened and what didn't. But I was a wedding videographer like 8 years ago, and I shot a wedding in Mexico. And that's about all I'll say about that.
Okay, fair enough. We'll open it up to the audience. We have some microphones, so just please wait for the mic to get to you before you get to your question. Questions? Hands up. All right, right there in the front.
Hey, how's it going?
Mic's coming your way.
So I've been vaguely following the process of this film getting made. How long has this been in production, and when did you guys shoot this, and just bring us through that process. So tell us about the creation of this film from the start to the finish, if you could, just so I can wrap my head around it. Because I thought you shot this like 3 years ago. I don't know.
No, we didn't. We didn't shoot it 3 years ago. I think I started writing it like in 2011, but it took a long time to figure out. And I made another film before I made this one, which you were in. And so there was like a solid year and a half where this film was on the back burner. So that delayed things, obviously, but it's been kind of the project I've been coming back to over the years and trying to figure out how to do properly, but it didn't really get going until, I'd say, like 2 years ago, maybe. I think actually exactly 2 years ago, because that's when our last film came out here in this room, and we were just like getting the wheels in motion on Sundowners. I don't know if either of you guys wants to chime in on some of the more detailed aspects of it. Okay, nobody wants to chime in. Brian?
No, I mean...
It may seem slow. It was actually the fastest film I've ever worked on, from presenting it to financiers to actually shooting. We presented it to one draft to Telefilm in April. They were super interested. Then we worked on the script, and then they came on board in October, and we shot the film in February.
How long was the whole shoot?
22 days.
22 days.
How long in Colombia?
16 days? 7 to 18? No?
10.
Don't know. Our
Question.
writers were incredible.
Yeah, we'll go in the middle there.
First of all, congratulations. I thought it was great. Thank you. It was really great. And just a simple question. I'm wondering why the choice of Colombia over actually filming in Mexico?
Mexico is too dangerous. It's very difficult to insure. And Colombia, ironically, because of all the difficulties they had in the past, has made a concerted effort to be a good place to shoot films. Narcos is a good example of that.
All right, we'll go to the back.
Hi, this is for Pavan. What was it like directing Tim Heidecker?
It was interesting. It was very intimidating because I'm a huge fan of his, and I just didn't know I met him in LA about a month before we started shooting. After he'd kind of signed on to the film, and he asked me do I have to learn my lines? And I said, well, your scenes have 7 or 8 key points that we need to communicate. And as long as you know those points, I don't really care if you do the lines exactly. And so he was like, okay, good, because I don't like learning lines. And so he showed up, and there was so many fans on the crew who were so excited for him to be there that I could kind of see him feeling the pressure for the first time, because everyone was so excited and gathered around the monitor. And I remember I think he pulled us aside and was like, just so you know, I'm a slow starter. It might take 5 or 6 takes for me to get it down. And we're like, oh yeah, no problem. We have tons of time. Everything's cool. And on his first take was 23 minutes long. And he gave us we could have wrapped him after 1 take. He had given us so much material and was such a pro.
It was the hardest I'd ever laughed in my life. It was so hard. He's so funny. I couldn't control it.
Yeah, and he's a director himself, and so he understood if Phil would laugh over one of his lines that was really good and got a reaction, Tim would know to pause the scene, rewind it, and do the joke again and get it clean, and he would know how to put in edit points for me when I was editing. And so when I was editing, it was a lot easier because he had taken great care in making sure that everything he was giving us would make for a clean edit. But it was also difficult because there was 6 takes that were 25 minutes long each, and there's just so much good stuff that it was so hard to decide what do you keep and what do you cut. And I think my initial cut of the film, his first scene was 24 minutes long because I just couldn't lose it.
And if you see the scenes again with Tim, the cameraman, so Peter, who's not here, one of 2 cinematographers, he's just shaking. The frame is just all over the place because he's just dying.
He's laughing so hard, and the takes are so long, and it's handheld.
I think a lot of people in the audience know Pavan and Brian as great collaborators, and I'm wondering, are there any parallels between your working relationship to the 2 leads on screen?
I feel when we were on our way to Colombia, we stopped in, was it Houston?
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in Houston, and we were there for 1 night, and we were tired, and Pavan was trying to get me to go out to this, I don't even know, some rodeo bar, and he had bought, what were those? El Loco, they're called Four Loco something.
We were with Luke. It was me, you, and Luke in this room, and Luke was just neutral, and I wanted to go check out Houston and see what it was like. And you were really sleepy, and Luke was just standing there, and we got into the argument that you see in the film, which had already been written, and we were quoting lines from the movie and not even realizing it.
Luke was weirded out by it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll throw back. We have in the middle there in the blue,